Enough, she commanded, her voice a regal thunder that quelled the murmurs. The council flinched. Maris's crest wilted slightly. This is no mere breach. It unmasks a conspiracy rooted in your precious succession hardliners, Counselor. Emergency Imperial Decree Alpha 7. I invoke it now. All factions tied to those sigils. Purge them. Seize assets. Detain principals. The court will not bleed for traditionalist delusions. Maris's scales bristled, his voice a venomous hiss. Imperatrix. The treaty consort's interference taints the response. Prohibitions of the Third Codex bar off worlders from. From what, Maris? From preserving the lives you swore to protect? Vishara's gaze pinned him, formal propriety cracking like thin ice under her rising ire. She dismissed Jonah as ceremonial ornament, a human novelty demanded by geopolitics, his youth and quiet competence unremarkable to Corellian eyes. But this, his pattern recognition weaving chaos into order, his resilience turning ambush to advantage, shifted something tectonic. The galaxy whispered of human norms, but she'd seen Lancers falter under less. The treaty binds him to this court as shield and symbol. He acted within its letter, saving Corellian blood. Accuse him further, and you accuse the Alliance itself. The counselor drew breath to retort, but Vishara cut him off with a gesture that summoned enforcers. Your privileges are suspended pending inquiry, High Counselor. Step down. Maris's eyes widened, a flicker of betrayal crossing his lined face. Long, her advisor, guardian of law, now exposed in his opposition's shadow. He bowed stiffly, retreating as guards flanked him, the chamber rippling with whispers. Political crisis deepened, yes, but Vishara felt the fracture lines. Maris's faction, once a bulwark, now a threat demanding excision. She turned to the holowith, broadcasting her decree empire-wide. The trial of implicated elements is postponed, consolidation first. And Jonah Hale, her talon tapped the comm, linking directly to the gala's secure channel. His face appeared, sweat-streaked but composed, aides clustering gratefully around him. You are under my personal protection henceforth. Report to the palace core immediately. The Imperium requires your counsel. His nod was simple, humble, no demand for praise, only a quiet, understood, imperatrix, en route. The feed cut, leaving Vishara amid stunned counselors. Maris's glare burned from the sidelines, but she met it unflinching. Duty had compelled this bond. Valor now forged it. The attack had forced her hand. Imperial law her shield for the human who'd earned it. Yet as enforcers dragged hardliner sympathizers from the chamber, a new resolve settled. Jonah was no consort. He was edge, and her empire would wield it. In the quiet aftermath, Vishara allowed herself a private signal to the drone network. Track Maris's movements, deeper now. The court plotted, but so did she, with an ally whose ordinary turned extraordinary in crisis. The galaxy tested. Jonah prevailed, and she, perhaps, had found her match. Explosions bloomed across the border feeds, crimson flares against the void, as the war room's central hololith shattered into a frenzy of rival coalition signatures. Empress Vishara's frill tightened along her neck ridges, the instinctive Corellian brace against chaos, while her primary claws tapped a precise rhythm on the command ledge. Status, Admiral Kresh. They probe no longer. These are fangs bared for the capital. Admiral Kresh's scales dulled under the harsh lights, his secondary arms gesturing at the flickering grid. Majesty, skirmishes have coalesced. 3 prongs, Zarathian vanguard feinting east, Thalor heavy cruisers massing coreward, and shadow drones slipping the net from the nebula fringe. The Alliance phrase, they test if our human treaty weakens us. Vishara's gaze cut to Jonah Hale, the human standing resolute at her flank, his unadorned flight suit a stark contrast to the chamber's gilded armor. He leaned into the secondary console, fingers dancing across alien interfaces with the fluid certainty of one born to them, eyes tracing patterns no Corellian sensor array had yet named. She had watched him these cycles, humble in his youth, uncomplaining through endless vigils, yet now, as threats converged, doubt flickered in her core. Duty bound him to her side, but could ceremony forge steel? Jonah straightened, his voice steady amid the clamor. They're not committing fully. Look, Zorathian feint draws our flank patrols. Thalor pins the center. Drones exploit the gap. Standard doctrine, but they're over-relying on our predictable shield rotations. Repurpose the engineering drones from the lattice repairs. Overload their emitters into a phased disruption web. Blunt the incursions without pulling main fleets. Murmurs rippled through the council pits. High Counselor Maris rose from his shadowed alcove, his elder frills sagging with feigned concern. Engineering drones? Against a coalition armada? This foreign-born whispers gambles with the Imperium's throat. Vishara silenced the chamber with a raised claw, her voice a blade sheathed in silk. The human speaks from the lattice fields, Counselor, where you debate from cushions. Elaborate, Jonah Hale. He met her eyes without flinching, projecting the workaround onto the hololith. A web of rerouted power flows, jury-rigged from civilian repair kits into a pulsing barrier. Krellian emitters cycle every 47 seconds. Rivals time their strikes to it. We sync the drones to human standard multitasking protocols, run interference patterns simultaneously with repair diagnostics. Creates false echoes, blunts drone swarms by 60%, buys us repositioning time. I've tested it on the outer arrays. Endurance holds through 1-8 hour shifts. Admiral Kresh's vents hissed in skepticism, but his optics scanned the sim. Unorthodox. Our rote matrices never layer civilian feeds so chaotically. Yet the math aligns. A pause, then reluctant awe. It reveals their thrust vectors before they peak. Vishara felt the shift in the air, her own frill easing fractionally. This human, this ceremonial consort, wove engineering into strategy as naturally as breathing, spotting connections across domains that her tacticians plodded through in committees. Implement. Reorient deployments, core fleets to Nebula Shadow, flanks hold light screens. Jonah Hale advises the vanguard execution. Maris's claws scraped stone. Majesty. To cede War Council voice to an unblooded outsider? The treaty demands his presence, not his peril. Secure succession first. A dynastic bond with House Thalris preserves Krellian purity. This reliance invites betrayal. What if his workarounds mask human agendas? The chamber tensed, Counselor's scales shimmering with opportunistic glints. Vishara's core burned. Maris's faction had whispered this since the bonding rite, their traditionalism a veil for power grabs. Yet Jonah stood unmoved, already coordinating drone syncs via his wrist link, multitasking fleet pings with real-time adjustments. No arrogance, just quiet competence, his human resilience turning crisis into rhythm. She rose to full height, her imperial mantle cascading like liquid obsidian. Enough. The Imperium endures not by purity's echo, but adaptation's edge. Jonah Hale, by my decree you are elevated, legate of frontier tactics, with full command writ in the outer spheres. Your authority stands public, let the court witness. Gasps echoed Maris's frill flaring in outrage, but Vishara's gaze held Jonah's. A personal current stirred beneath duty. Gratitude, perhaps more. He nodded once, humble as ever. Honored, Empress. Drones deploying now. The hololith steadied as the web activated. Incursions faltered, drones veered into phantom shields, Zarathian probes scattering like startled swarmflies. Kresh barked orders, deployments snapping into Jonah's reoriented lattice. Vishara watched the human at work, his pattern recognition bridging Krellian rigidity with fluid innovation, aliens around him exchanging vents of dawning respect. He learns our system swifter than acolytes, a sub-commander muttered, and endures without fatigue signals, but triumph cracked. Alarms screamed anew, a major strike, Phalor behemoths punching through outer defenses in a brutal wedge, capital shields buckling under massed fire. The war room shuddered, lights flickering as impacts rippled through the palace struts. Breached, Kresh roared, their coreward, 40 minutes to Admo. Vishara's claws clenched a ledge, resolve stealing her frame. No retreat, no delegation. This was her throne, her alliance, counter-operation, elite vanguard to the breach point. I lead personally. Legate Hale, you command engineering strike from my wing. Jonah's eyes sharpened. No hesitation. Flanking vectors prepped. We'll hit their power cores with the web. Improvised overloads. Maris protested from the pits. Majesty. To the front with a human? Tradition. Tradition yields to victory, she snapped. Formal propriety fracturing into raw command. She signaled her guard, then turned to Jonah, voice lowering for his ears alone. "We share this fire, Legate. Prove the court wrong." His faint smile bridged species chasms, a quiet pack bond forming amid peril. "Together, Empress." The war room became their crucible. As drop pods launched into the void, Vishara strapped into the command cradle beside Jonah, hollow feeds linking their nerves to the fray. Enemy fire lanced the screens. She vectored interceptors with imperial precision, while he multitasked drone swarms adapting mid-breach to Thalor countermeasures. "Shift phase to 52 seconds. Their scanners lag human irregularity," he called, fingers blurring. A direct hit rocked their pod, inertial dampers whining. Vishara's frill locked, but Jonah braced seamlessly, rerouting auxiliary power without pause. Kresh's voice crackled, Legate's web holding, behemoths venting plasma. Counselors in the rear feeds gaped, Maris silent at last, his skepticism cracking under live proof. Under relentless fire, she deferred to his read. "Your strike now." Jonah unleashed the overloads, repurposed emitters surging into rival cores. Explosions chained across the hololith, the breach sealing in a blaze of debris. Vishara exhaled, her claw brushing his arm in unscripted solidarity. Partnership, not ceremony. The galaxy saw, her court would follow. Yet as the feeds cleared, a deeper signal pinged her private channel. Maris's drone traces converging on shadowed allies. Plots thickened, but with Jonah at her side, the Imperium stood unbowed. Explosions rocked the palace foundations, their thunder vibrating through Vishara's throne room, like the death throes of a felled leviathan. Hollow feeds flickered to life across the chamber's vaulted expanse, projecting the rival coalition's swarm, jagged fighters breaching the outer shields, their plasma lances carving molten scars into the capital's spires. Maris's private signal had been no mere warning. His drone traces now fueled this onslaught, shadowed allies turning blades inward. Vishara rose from her throne, her iridescent scales rippling with controlled fury, mandibles clicking in a low command hum. "Seal the inner bastions. Divert all auxiliary power to the throne shield." Her voice cut through the rising clamor, aides scrambling at consoles. But the feeds showed the truth. The coalition's vanguard pierced the heartward perimeter, targeting the High Council's nexus. One breach, and the Imperium's continuity shattered, succession in chaos, her rule contested amid the rubble. Then Jonah was there, striding from the antechamber, his human frame unyielding despite the pallor of strain etching his young features. No ceremonial robes today, field gear clung to him, smeared with conduit grease from hours jury-rigging defenses. "Vishara," he said, voice steady as he synced his wrist pad to the central display. Their lead wings on a predictive loop. Same vector the Sims flagged from Maris's leaks. "I can jam it." Her primary advisor Thalor hissed skepticism from the sidelines, his crest flaring. "Human improvisation? The lattice arrays are Krellian forged. You'll overload." "Overload's the point." Jonah's fingers flew across the pad, multitasking feeds, rerouting power surges, plotting intercept vectors, even modulating the palace's own drone swarm mid-flight. Vishara watched, pulse quickening. Humans endured like no other species she knew, no fatigue tremor, no ritual pause for metabolic reset. He juggled the assault's chaos as if plotting a garden lattice, connecting drone telemetry to coalition cipher fragments she dismissed as noise. The first counterstrike launched. Jonah's hack infiltrated the enemy wing's nav core, twisting their precision into a spiral frenzy. Coalition fighters collided in mid-air blooms of fire, debris raining on the boulevards below. Cheers erupted from the throne room aides, but Veshara's gaze locked on the feeds. Jonah already pivoting, hailing the coalition command on an open channel. "This is Jonah Hale, consort to Empress Vishara. Your vanguard scrap. Next wave hits our throne shield, and we glass your forward base. Ceasefire terms. Withdraw to the treaty line, where we demonstrate the full lattice override." Silence crackled, then a gravelly voice. "Coalition warlord Kresh, you bluff softskin. Our probes confirm Maris's fealty." Jonah didn't flinch. He patched in a live schematic, his voice layering technical leverage with battlefield poise. "Probes lie. See the ghost signal? Maris's drones rerouted through your own relays. Your ally sold you out. Pull back, and we broker neutrality. Fight on." and your fleet's blind. Vishara's mandibles parted in rare astonishment. He'd read the subtext, Maris's betrayal threading through coalition logistics, a pattern her analysts had chased for cycles. Human pattern recognition, weaving disparate threads into lethal clarity. Kresh's channel sputtered concession. The swarm peeled away, shields holding firm. The capital endured. As the feed stabilized, Vishara activated the empire-wide broadcast array, her image beaming to every bastion and outpost. Citizens of the Imperium, behold, the coalition offensive repelled not by blade alone, but by unyielding resolve. She gestured to Jonah, who stood wiping sweat from his brow, humble as ever. Jonah Hale has turned peril to victory. High Counselor Maris's charges of treason, fabricated to undermine our treaty bond, are hereby overturned. I decree Jonah Hale elevated to co-regent, his council equal in all matters of defense and alliance. Maris burst into the chamber then, flanked by traditionalist guards, his scales dulled with outrage. Empress! This upstart's victory is slight, human trickery unfit for fit. Vishara's voice lashed like a whip, formality cracking into regal thunder. He saved your precious continuity, Maris, while your shadowed allies invited doom. The High Council feeds linked in, holographic visages materializing, elders, generals, envoys, public vids already looped Jonah's counterstrike, murmurs of awe rippling through the net. Counselor Lirath, Maris's rival faction head, leaned forward, her frills quivering. The proof streams true. Lattice logs confirm the human's overrides. Impossible without cross-domain insight. Coalition withdrawal verified. Maris's crest deflated, but he pressed. Succession demands Krellian purity. This partnership risks. Risks nothing, Vishara interjected, her gaze sweeping the council. Conditional acceptance. The interspecies bond ratified, with safeguards. Joint decrees required dual seal. Succession through proven heirs of either blood. The Imperium evolves, or perishes in stasis. Nods cascaded, reluctant from Maris's block, fervent from the rest. Thalor whispered to her, they yield, Empress. The human. He reshapes us. Vishara turned to Jonah, her voice softening for the broadcast's end, propriety yielding to the personal. Co-regent Hale, I choose you. Not as treaty token, but partner in rulership, shared stewardship, my authority intact, your valor unbound. His eyes met hers, warm, unassuming. The human humility that had pierced her defenses cycle by cycle. It's what we do together, Vishara. Always has been. The court rituals commenced at dawn's light. The grand atrium transformed. Ancient braziers flared with lattice-infused flames, casting prismatic glows on assembled nobility. Vishara stood at the dais, Jonah beside her, as High Counselor Lirath intoned the reformed oaths. By blade and code, Empress Vishara and co-regent Jonah Hale bind the Imperium anew. Alliance secured, threats quelled. Maris knelt last, his submission a bitter pivot, eyes flickering with recalibrated respect. The human's mettle, proven. Vishara extended her claw, clasping Jonah's hand in the rite's climax, the first interspecies seal in Krellian history. Gasps hushed to reverence. Aides who'd once dismissed him now bowed deeper. Jonah squeezed back, his endurance carrying them through the night's siege into this dawn, his adaptability forging paths she'd never charted alone. As the assembly dispersed, Vishara drew him aside, scales brushing his arm in uncharacteristic intimacy. You saw what I could not. The betrayals weave, the counters arc. I was born to rule, Jonah, and learned true power lies in an equal. He smiled, that quiet human optimism grounding her triumph. Equals build empires that last. We're just getting started. The Imperium stood taller, alliance forged in fire and trust, their bond the keystone.